So our first story today is about Roman Abramovich. This has been in quite a number of news articles recently over the last few days. We wanted to go through it and a little bit more before we talked about it here. The story originates from the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. They published an article about Roman Abramovich's practices with his yachts. They report that he registered his yachts as commercial vehicles under a sham cruise scheme that helped him dodge millions of euros in tax. So what we're going to do is we're going to read a little from the article and then we'll break it down on the other side. So leaked documents seen by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, the BBC and The Guardian show that several of the Russian oligarchs' yachts were supposedly being used for business purposes. In fact, Abramovich was simply hiring the boats from himself through a series of companies he also owned, allowing him to falsely claim a VAT exemption for maritime businesses and evade levies on fuel, provisions and maintenance and other costs. The papers also show agents for Abramovich discussing their intention to dodge VAT on the entire price of the superyachts themselves, which could have amounted to tens of millions of euros. The documents, part of the Cyprus Confidential project led by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists and Paper Trail Media, show how members of Abramovich's network created a fake cruise business on his behalf and deliberately tried to cover their tracks. The documents show these superyachts were each owned by separate companies registered in the British Virgin Islands, which were in turn all owned by a single trust, and the trust ultimately belonged to Abramovich. The yachts themselves were registered in Bermuda, first as other cargo/yachts, then later as commercial yachts, and finally as passenger vessels, a category used, for instance, by ferry operators. Now, just a quick word on that. That is not necessarily shady or illegal. Any yacht can be registered as a commercial yacht. In fact, let's take, for example, Motor Yacht Loon. That vessel, because it's a charter yacht, must be registered as a commercial vessel. You can't have a private yacht running a charter business. So that they're not trying to deceive just based on the fact that they registered the vessel as a commercial vessel. And also, one of them says passenger vessel there. Abramovich's yacht Eclipse can carry, depending on which article you read or which place you get your information, it says his vessel can carry 36 guests. Now, 36 guests is the maximum amount of guests you can carry on a passenger yacht. If it's any more than that, then it actually goes up into the passenger vessel status. Now, I've seen some articles that say that yacht has 24 cabins, so that would be 48 guests. If it was able to carry 48 guests, then it would have to be registered as a passenger vessel. Each of the BVI companies then leased the boats out to a company based in Cyprus called Blue Ocean Yacht Management. These agreements were long-term and cost Blue Ocean millions of dollars per year. They granted Blue Ocean control of the yachts, and in turn, it leased the boats out for week-long cruises, generating huge profits it could then use to pay for maintenance, repairs, and fuel tax-free. At its peak, Blue Ocean was spending $40 million a year on these operational costs. Leaked documents show that the customers hiring the yachts were simply another set of BVI companies, all of which again ultimately belonged to Abramovich. It meant Abramovich was essentially the yacht owner, the service provider, and the customer. He was thereby falsely claiming a tax exemption for companies whose use of the vessels is central to their business, such as ferry or boat hire operators. If acting above board, a commercial operator will charge its customers VAT for renting out the yachts for leisure purposes. It then collects this VAT and passes it on to the authorities in the EU country where it's owed. Leaked documents and court records show that for Abramovich's yachts, this didn't happen. Blue Ocean claimed its customers, the set of BVI companies which chartered the yachts out for cruises, were also commercial operators and therefore exempt from paying VAT. Blue Ocean director Jonathan Holloway said the people involved in the structure must be aware of the risks. Holloway then spelled it out. We want to avoid paying VAT on the purchase price of the yachts, and where possible to avoid paying VAT on the goods and services provided to the yachts. Our structure must, as clearly as possible, separate the different parties so that an investigator checking out our operation would see it as a legitimate structure. The VAT on importing the yachts into the EU waters without any exemptions would amount to around 100 million euros. That's even a lot of money for a billionaire. All right, so what I have to say is my own personal experience. This is not an isolated incident. Like Holloway says that he was using structures that others were using. I believe that. I'm not saying that that's not a defense for him. I'm just saying that I believe that other yachts were doing it too. But one of the first yachts I worked on, we were a new yacht, and we were at the Monaco Yacht Show. I actually mentioned it last year in the Monaco Yacht Show videos. I said I was on a larger yacht than the one that the yacht show claimed was the largest charter yacht ever to go to Monaco. And I said that I think I'd been on a larger one, but I didn't argue with them. And part of the reason why is because the yacht I was on, we went to Monaco, we had brokers on board, they were walking around, and I said, why have we got brokers on board? And they said, because we're setting it, the yacht's being set up as a charter yacht. I said, oh, we're going to do charters. They said, no, the owner's not going to charter it, he's just setting it up as a charter yacht. So clearly, now back then I didn't really understand exactly what that meant. It gives you an idea of what they were probably setting up themselves. So when Mr. Holloway says that other people are using those structures, I completely believe it. Thanks very much for watching this video. You've been watching a Superyacht News clip. If you'd like to see the full unedited Superyacht News video, you can click on the link over here. You can also find our channel links below here. And if you'd like to see more shorter videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to this channel.